Sahih al-Bukhari 691. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Isn't he who raises his head before the Imam afraid that Allah may transform his head into that of a donkey or his face, into that of a donkey?" Sahih al-Bukhari 692. Narrated Ibn Umar. When the earliest emigrants came to al-Usba, a place in Kuba, before the arrival of the Prophet Salim, the slave of Abu Hudhaifa, who knew the Quran more than the others, used to lead them in prayer. Sahih al-Bukhari 693. Narrated Anas. The Prophet said, "Listen and obey your chief, even if an Ethiopian whose head is like a raisin were made your chief." Sahih al-Bukhari 694. Narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, "If the Imam leads the prayer correctly, then he and you will receive the rewards, but if he makes a mistake in the prayer, then you will receive the reward for the prayer and the sin will be his." Sahih al-Bukhari 695. Narrated Ubaydullah bin Adi bin Qiyar. I went to Uthman bin Affan while he was besieged, and said to him, "You are the chief of all Muslims in general, and you see what has befallen you. We are led in the Salat, prayer, by a leader of al-Fitan, trials and afflictions etc., and we are afraid of being sinful in following him." Uthman said, "As Salat, the prayers, is the best of all deeds, so when the people do good deeds do the same with them, and when they do bad deeds, avoid those bad deeds." Az-Zuri said, "In our opinion one should not offer Salat behind an effeminate person unless there is no alternative." Sahih al-Bukhari 696. Narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet said to Abu Dhar, "Listen and obey your chief, even if he is an Ethiopian with a head like a raisin." Sahih al-Bukhari 697. Narrated Ibn Abbas. Once I passed the night in the house of my aunt Maymuna. Allah's Messenger offered the Isha prayer and then came to the house and offered 4 rakat and slept. Later on, he woke up and stood for the prayer and I stood on his left side. He drew me to his right and prayed 5 rakat and then 2. He then slept till I heard him snoring, or heard his breath sounds. Afterwards he went out for the morning prayer. Sahih al-Bukhari 698. Narrated Ibn Abbas. One night I slept at the house of my aunt Maymuna and the Prophet was there on that night. He performed ablution and stood up for the prayer. I joined him and stood on his left side, but he drew me to his right and prayed 13 rakat and then slept till I heard his breath sounds. And whenever he slept, he used to breathe with audible sounds. The Muadhin came to the Prophet, and he went out and prayed the morning prayer, without repeating the ablution. Sahih al-Bukhari 699. Narrated Ibn Abbas. Once I passed the night in the house of my aunt Maymuna. The Prophet stood for the night prayer and I joined him and stood on his left side, but he drew me to his right by holding me by the head. Sahih al-Bukhari 700. Narrated Muadh bin Jabal. I used to pray the Isha prayer with the Prophet, and then go to lead my people in the prayer.